The show is an opportunity for me to share my passion for the sport, what I think makes it great. It's my attempt to help also educate the different factions involved with dirt track racing, what their expectations and wants are from a night at the Dirt Track Speedway. There's 4 factions in my eyes. Well, there's other factions, but there's 4 major ones. There's the fans, the drivers, officials, and promoters as one group, and the media make the 4th and final group. That's my goal. I want to try to share what those 4 factions expect from a different night, because everybody has different expectations in that group. I, as a race fan, have a different set of expectations from when I announce or from when I'm a track official, race director, corner worker. I look at the race different each time I go, and my goal is to help try to share that. I really also want to try to explore the things that people might not know about this sport, and that includes diehards like me. There might be something along the way that your mommy didn't know or forgot about, and that is what this show, Dirt Track Speedway, is going to be all about. It's my way to share my love for dirt track racing. Let's be honest, though, there's going to be some things that we love about the sport, and there's going to be things that drive us crazy about this sport, but hopefully we'll have an educated conversation about it. And to be honest with you, that's what makes this sport great. Everyone talks about how vanilla NASCAR is right now. It's because there's no villains. There's nobody to hate. Well, there's a few people you just don't like. I kind of like this guy. Well, that guy, he just annoys me. No, there's got to be somebody you just flat out hate. My mom was a Dale Earnhardt fan for one reason only. My dad didn't like him, so she started cheering for him just to tick him off. And an Earnhardt fan was born. And it was great rivalry, a great conversation. Dad hated that guy, but he also respected that guy because he had a ton of talent. Mom liked it just because he just ticked Dad off. But anyway, and along the way, hopefully you'll have an opinion as well. As Jim Rome says, have a take and don't suck. That being said, be open-minded when we have these conversations and make sure you listen. Don't just hear what people are saying. Actually sit down and listen if it's a different perspective than you have. With all that being said, it is our first episode, episode 1 of Dirt Track Speedway. And coming up on tonight's episodes, we're going to format the show kind of like a weekly race that is going on. There will be heat races, which will kind of be, or hot laps, which will be previewing what's happened on heat races. We're going to talk about some of the highlight things that took place. LCQ is your last chance to qualify where you're going to go this weekend. Some nights we'll have a trophy dash, an AMA, and a victory lane speech, and sometimes we'll even have a victory lane photo as well. So, with that in mind, let's get ready to enjoy episode 1 of Dirt Track Speedway. Heats in our Speedway show, we're going to take a look at some of the highlights, like I said, not results, but highlights of things that took place. Maybe somebody's got a milestone win or something along those lines, but unfortunately this past weekend Mother Nature had basically monsoon weekend in her mind. I think the only track that got in was Hancock County Speedway. Props to them for trying to get the night in, and they did get the night in. Hopefully it was a good night for the promoter and everyone else involved. So with all the PPDR action that took place this past weekend, I wanted to see what Iowa dirt fans do during rainouts. So I asked and shared for some people to tag some pictures along the way, and Carter Vandenberg still got some racing in over the weekend. He was RC racing in Knoxville. Shane DeMay, apparently work is his theme. He was out in the shop working on his hot rod. And apparently booze is a big part of the racing culture. Probably no shock, I suppose, but here's some proof of that. Zach Swanson shared that Justin Walker, Nate Smith, and Zach Swanson were all having a big birthday party for there. By the way, thanks for the invite. Jerry Van Sickle. Now, actually, Jerry was a butterfly. He was all over different places. Here he's at the Iowa Barnstormers, and all of them had booze involved. A bunch of barley pop from Brad Chandler, Barry Braun, Steve Nevels also checked in with booze in front of them. Here's Tim Current's place. The shop was all active. I don't know if Tyler Stoppy's saying, hey, I won again, or hey, I've got booze in my hand. Either way, looks like a great time. Oh, yeah, and by the way, thanks for the invite, too. I realize I don't live close enough anyway. Jack Daniels and a fire. That's probably my favorite booze one that I had that Wes checked in. However, I think the oddball of them all had to have been Mike Van Genderen's post that he was at a roller derby tournament in Omaha, Nebraska. I don't know much about roller derby, but it certainly was an interesting perspective, I will say that, to see. All right, so coming up here, let's see, Wednesday night, the Buena Vista Raceway and Southern Iowa Speedway are going to be racing their weekly programs. Extra money's been thrown in at Southern Iowa. Now, Lee County Speedway, normally a Friday night track, has moved to Thursday night because they're going to be picking up one of the MLRA late model dates, and they're also going to be running their weekly show on Thursday night. Friday night, CJ Speedway, weekly show, Crawford County Speedway. It's a weekly show, but also the Melbourne Bank Super Late Model Racing Series will be added in there. The second night of the MLRA late models in Iowa will be at Davenport Speedway Friday night with the weekly show. Farley has their weekly program. This one I found interesting. I don't know much about it. Fayette County Speedway has their weekly show, but on the schedule it says Circus Night. There's going to be like elephants in Victory Lane or something like that. Might be worth the trip. Also on Friday night, Hancock County Speedway has their weekly show, plus also Avery's Army fundraiser event. Lee County Speedway not racing Friday night because they're moved to Thursday. Marshalltown Speedway has the Cliff Chambers Memorial. It's a 1,000 to win modified show. A Fast Chefs All-Star Invitational. And while I mentioned Fast Chefs, I want to thank Pat Fagan for jumping on board and being a proud sponsor and supporter of Dirt Track Speedway on its inaugural episode. More on what Pat and I have worked up for you guys here in just a little bit. Rapid Speedway, a weekly show, but also the MSTS 360 Sprints will be joining him. On Saturday night, we have a ton of tracks on Iowa. 334 Raceway has a weekly show. Adams County, weekly show, but the late models will be off. Bloomfield will be in Eldon, back and forth. This weekend it's Eldon. Boone, weekly show, also the same for Hamilton County Speedway. Independence Motor Speedway the third night for the MLRA late models, plus also the weekly show. No IMCA late models that night. Knoxville, here's a great one if you like to have, apparently we do, booze. Weekly show plus dollar beer night. Season opener from Macokota and weekly show at Shelby County, and Saturday night Upper Iowa and West Liberty also running weekly shows as well. IMC late models return to Marshalltown Speedway weekly, first time in 28 years. Jerry, thank you for reminding me about that. I appreciate that. That's on Friday night, Marshalltown Speedway, pointing that out. Sunday night, the Benton County Speedway, Dubuque Speedway, and Mason City Motor Speedway all will have their weekly shows, with Mason City trying to get their season opener started. Now remember, always check with your local track to make sure there hasn't been any adjustments or things that I might have missed. I'm not perfect, and great fans like Jerry pointing out, hey, you missed something, Daddy-O. Get it together. So thank you for letting me get it together. All right, so our trophy dash will hop in and out from time to time, and Pat Fagan got a hold of me about 3 weeks ago or so. It was one of my Test and 2 nights here for Dirt Track Speedway, and he says, I want to do something to help out. So we've been talking back and forth, and I'm going to let you know that we're going to do a drive shaft giveaway, and we're going to give the complete details on it next week, but you as a fan can have a chance to nominate your favorite driver, or if you're a driver, you can nominate yourself. Each week, I'm going to pick out a couple of different random names, and then at the end of it, what we're going to do is do a random drawing I think we'll have 6 names, basically what it is. And I'll tell you how to do that. So make sure you tune in next week. Our next episode is Tuesday, May 9th, 9 p.m. And we'll let you know how you can get either your favorite driver registered or how you can also register yourself. But I want to say thank you again to Pat Fagan and Fast Shafts by Axle Exchange. And we'll have the details coming up. Fast Shafts can handle drive shafts, repair, new drive shafts, center sections for 4 9-inch rear ends, yokes, you name it, they can handle it. FastShafts.com. Thank you very much for being a part of tonight and actually the first 8 episodes. I appreciate that. So aerial coverage tonight. This is the speedway in the background. This is Artifice Speedway. It's a work in progress. Carla Franken, thanks for coming over and helping be a little artsy craftsy with me. It's our official dirt track of Dirt Track Speedway. Now we're going to be adding things throughout the season to the all-new Artifice Speedway, and we'll have aerial coverage to kind of let you show the progress of it. And tonight's aerial coverage is brought to you by Tush Beer. When you get thirsty, just grab a Tush. Tush. All right, so our main conversation tonight, I wanted to expand upon a phrase that all of us as race fans have heard, and if you're new to the sport, educate you on it: going slow to go fast. We've all heard that in some form or another, and I found this great video that demonstrates it to a T, and I want to thank Clint of Carl Performance and also driver Todd Shute for letting me share this video and share it with everybody. And I'm going to play it and just kind of let you guys listen. I want you to really hear the engine. And it's a good example of how slow he gets on and off the gas. A lot of the drivers do doing a great job there. He's got a battle. The car that you see on the screen there, that's Tim Ward. So afterwards, I want to talk about it here in just a little bit. So here, just take a listen right now. hear how he's really off the gas, just waiting forever to get back on it. All right, so that's kind of an example of it. There was a specific point that I wanted to bring up with this video here. There's a point here. Listen, first of all, see where Todd is right now, where he's at in connection with Tim Ward coming off of turn number 2. Very close. Now, he's going to go into turn number 3. You're going to hear him hit the chip, and then you're going to see him chase the wheel a little bit, and then watch how far Tim pulls away from him coming off of turn 2 because he drove it in too deep. He went too fast into the corner. See him fighting the wheel there. All right, so he was almost side by side coming off the corner. Here he is coming off the corner, and Ward's already pulled away. Now listen, Todd I think knew exactly what he did, that he drove it in too deep, and you can hear him adjust. Listen this time how slow he gets off the gas and how slow he gets back on the gas getting into turn number 1. Now he'll do the same thing down here in 3 and 4. Very slow, like almost 3-4 seconds. And completes the pass. It was like 3 or 4 seconds where he's getting off the gas and then getting back on the gas. A perfect example there if you're new to the sport or have never seen it. That is a great example of going slow in order to go fast. All right, we'll move on now to our closing segment, the Victory Lane speech, talking about the different aspects of the sport, some things that I'm trying to educate on. And right now, one of the things I'm talking about is the perfect night at the Speedway. Now, last week we talked about fans, and you can check that article now at K985.com. Tonight we're going to be talking about the flag-waving fans of dirt track racing, the flagmen. And I want to say thank you very much to the 4 flagmen that were willing to let me share their opinions: Doug Hack, Wes White, Logan Kelly, and Paul Zobelik. And there's a really in-depth article about this at K985.com. And it goes into, I want to share some of the highlights about some of the things they shared. Now, my goal right now, as we get things kind of started in the beginning of the season, is what makes the perfect night in racing. And let's be honest, I mentioned the 4 factions. For those that are just tuning in, my opinion, there's 4 major factions. There's more, but the 4 major factions are fans, drivers, officials and promoters as one group, and media. And when we go to the racetrack, we have different expectations. So for officials, flagmen, what exactly is the perfect night? And I wanted to start with the very first one that I thought Doug Hack gave, which I thought, now they all gave great quotes and great insight and perspectives, and I shared a lot of that in the article, but my favorite quote out of all of them, and I mentioned this, Doug, I didn't want to tell him until the show was on: a perfect night for me is when I don't have to come into play on the outcome of a race. I love that. That is a great quote. Everyone seems to think that the flagman or officials want to get in, and I can understand sometimes they just, you got to have something to blame. And I think a lot of the flagmen echoed similar thoughts. Wes White echoed what I think makes the perfect night as an official, but he and I, to be fair, worked together on the Saturday night Independence Motor Speedway program. He says the perfect night for me would be running a fast, smooth program. And also Paul Zobelik and Logan Kelly also echoed the same thing. Now, although Paul did have some fun with the monsoon season we had, Mother Nature's cooperation. Okay. I thought that was kind of funny. All right, seriously though, how quick as an official can I run the show? And Logan Kelly, we should be done and out of there in 4 hours with 125 cars. And if you're not familiar with these guys, Doug Hack works mainly in eastern Iowa, Farley Speedway, West Liberty Raceway, and Dubuque Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, respectively. Plus, you also see him from time to time at some of the specials. I ran into him working at the Cedar County Speedway during the Dark Side Spring Fling. Wes White is the Independence Motor Speedway flagman, but he's involved with an awful lot of race teams and also sponsors a couple of nights, sponsors a couple of cars, so a great supporter of dirt track racing. Paul Zobelik, he works up in northeast Iowa. Let's see, the Upper Iowa Speedway, Cresco Speedway, I think they have 3 shows. Also the Fayette County Speedway. And finally, Logan Kelly is the flagman over in northwest Iowa. And again, thank you to those guys for letting me share that. Now, the flagman is a huge part. Now, they mentioned about smooth programs, and they are a huge part of the racing program and how efficient it can be. And fans might think that the flagman just climbs up to the flag stand, gets to have the best seat in the house, and that's all they do is watch the race. And for the most part, to be honest with you, it is the best seat in the house, but they don't get to watch the races like we do. Logan Kelly talked about, I don't get to watch the races nearly as much racing as people seem to think. Some fans and the drivers think that I just get to stand up in the flag stand and watch everything. That's just not the case. And that is true for all the flagmen I talked about. I talked with Doug Hack, said at the beginning of every race, my eyes go immediately to turn one. I want to make sure that there is no fuel flying in the air and to make sure that all make it through okay. Always watch a group of cars that might cause a yellow. Wes White had a very similar deal. Mostly I try to scan the whole track. I'm looking for debris, wrecks, or anything that might require a caution. Bottom line is driver safety. That's my number one concern. Doug Hack did also point out that job, the safety aspect of it, and getting the information to the driver has been a lot easier since the introduction of the receiver. And sometimes I wanted to add there, and I don't know necessarily that they pointed out, they kind of alluded to it, but I think the unwritten, the words between the lines from all the flagmen was sometimes the most important decision is to not throw a yellow. I can't tell you the number of times as a race director where I've called a yellow, and as soon as I do, the guy drives away. But, it's that fine line. You got to be making sure that guy is safe. And and there's been times that I've had a few people come up and talk to me and said, why would you throw that yellow? Until you're really faced with that decision, you got 23 cars coming down the backstretch, and you got a car facing the wrong way in turn 4. Now, once they get in the corner, sometimes they can't always react in time. You've got to make that decision. Again, like Wes White said and all the other flagmen, safety is their number one concern. It can be a thankless job, and some of those decisions along the way can create a little bit of friction. And most of the flagmen that I did talk to said they've only really had a few, quote, major discussions. They've been pretty blessed. But because it is a thankless job, why do you come back time after time? And I think Logan Kelly summed it up best for everybody. Being a flagman is something I wanted to do since I was 6 years old. I have an absolute blast doing it. I really like the relationships I've built with the drivers and the crews, and everybody kind of said the same thing. And again, you can go to K985.com right now and read that article. There's also a link off to the fans version of The Perfect Night of Racing. I'd appreciate it if you could read it, and if you liked it, share it out with your circle of friends. So that will almost wrap up the final edition, or the first edition of Dirt Track Speedway. Taking a look here, Flogan Flads at Buena Vista. Yeah, I think he actually does quite a few tracks along the way. Lots of side by side, and all cars loaded as they unload it. Missing some of that there, Jerry. Trying to go through here. Ruben Meyer. Pat's been doing a great job trying to keep things going. Todd Koenigsegg. Now, one of the things that I talked about during the test session, I guess you could say, was sometimes when you look at something on Facebook and you think, gosh, what a bunch of asses. What a bunch of just, why would people, and then you finally investigate and you realize, well, it's just guys just having fun. And I think the stock car boys in Southeast Iowa have way too much fun. Big Daddy down there, you have Abe Halls, Jeff Mueller. Those two are the ones that go back and forth the most. And it always seems to be they're picking on each other. And I actually I found a picture that I'm going to share here in just a second from Abe and his kid Xander. And I had to actually, I saw it and I said, hey, can I share it? And he said, yeah. And then I'm like, well, maybe I better make sure that they get along. I think they're having fun with it. And he says, yeah, we're having a great time. They love each other like brothers and so forth. So here's a picture of Xander checking the tire of Jeff Mueller's trailer. Kind of a Calvin and Hobbes moment, I believe, was the caption there. So is it Calvin and Halls, I guess? Well, I'll be. Well, thank you guys for checking in the first edition of Dirt Track Speedway, Episode 1 now. Episode 2 and 3, 4, 5, and so forth, they are scheduled, and they're going to be either on Tuesday or Wednesday nights. I understand that there's racing on Wednesday nights. However, I have to do it based on my schedule, and my availability is a big thing for me. So unfortunately, there's going to be some shows on Wednesday nights. And for those that race on or go to the races on Wednesday night, don't worry, it's archived. This show is going to be on Facebook. There'll be some YouTube links as well. But the next episode of Dirt Track Speedway, episode 2, is a week from tonight, Tuesday, May 9th at 9 p.m. And then on May 17th, we'll go to Wednesday. And again, if you're just logging in, check out and give Dirt Track Speedway a like. I appreciate it. It is 9:20. My goal is 20 to 25 minutes. Here's my towel, and I'm throwing in the towel. That is the end of episode 1, Dirt Track Speedway with Bucky Doren and Fast Shafts. Thank you to Pat Fagan.